Hello, welcome back. We are excited about today's episode. We're talking all about the biggest one thing that can hold you back with your mediumship. This
Yeah,
is an important thing.
yeah. When you're developing your psychic mediumship skills, we've noticed after working with thousands of clients that, thousands of clients at the deepest level, we noticed that there's one thing that causes them to plateau.
And you might think that it's mediumship skills, but no, it's not.
Yeah,
It,
we watched it over and over to where we've done it ourselves too, to where, you're in the trenches, you're practicing your mediumship skills, you're doing your readings,
yeah.
you're practicing your psychic skills. And then all of a sudden, at the beginning, you're growing at a rapid pace, and then you hit this plateau. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it could feel like you're in this plateau for a year, 2 years, 5 years, depending on how quickly you locate this one thing. And this one thing, it's a general category, but it's very deep and it means a lot of different things. So it's not like, oh, if I just solve this one thing, then my mediumship skills grow. It's more complex than that.
Yeah. And it's all about mindset. And that's the big thing. Mindset, and there's so many stories that we can share with us, with ourselves, like between actually as mediums, we can share it and we can repeat the stories in our head. And then we can also repeat it to our peers, to our teachers over and over again. And sometimes we get stuck in our story where it keeps us small, it keeps us staying there, and we're so obsessed with the story that we don't tell a new story. We stay in that victim mode, like, well, I'm never good at names, or, well, I don't know if I could ever sustain my energy this long for my readings, or I've never been this type of person, so it's not going to happen, you know? So it's easy to kind of get stuck in those stories, and it really can stop a lot of growth.
Yeah, exactly. So this reminds me of I was taking an anthropology class in college, and I had a teacher. She did this brilliant exercise with us, and she was from Jamaica, and she was trying to teach us that like whatever culture you grow up in, you see through that filter.
Mm.
You see through the beliefs of your parents, the culture, your surroundings. And what she did was she gave us all, she had like red sunglasses, blue sunglasses, yellow sunglasses, all different colors, like probably six of them, just all different colors. And she had us put one color on and be like, all right, what do you see? And we described, oh, that color over there of that desk is this, it's more of a yellow tint. And everything in the room looked different according to what pair of sunglasses that you put on. And then she had us put on a yellow and then a green and layer it each time, and then
Mm-hmm.
take notes on like all right, what looks different now. And then we had three glasses on and four glasses. And that's how our mind works. It's like we have these beliefs inside of us, and whatever we believe, our brain sees that. We're seeing through that filter. So the way that your world's showing up right now, it's showing up that way because that's what you're seeing. So your brain's going out there, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, so if you think like, oh, I'm not good at names, that's your belief. So then your brain's going out there, and even if you get a name right, right? How many times have you got the people that say they're not good at names?
Yeah.
You get a name right, and then you don't soak that in all the way. You don't
Yeah.
feel it
You think it was
because
just a fluke,
you're like,
like,
oh, it
oh,
was
it's
a
just that
fluke,
one time.
just that one time. And if you don't get a hold of that, you could take every name mediumship class. Like if there's going to be a mediumship class specifically for names, you could do that the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and you'll slowly get better at names because of that filter that's holding you back.
Because yes, you're not giving yourself grace and you're not giving yourself credit. I think that goes along with it. Um, I love that example. You probably told me that a while ago, but I forget with the sunglass story. But
I
I
haven't thought of
love,
that in a long time.
yeah, that's a great exercise. And it's tangible. And you start to notice like if it's showing up like this with sunglasses, how am I showing up in my life and what am I seeing? Because I always told the story, I think I shared this in either an episode or on one reel that I posted online about how my thought process around group readings was I'm too shy to do group readings. I'm good with kids and I'm used to speaking in front of a group of kids, but when it comes to adults, oh, I don't know if I can do that. So I told that story and it almost stopped me from signing up for a group reading class because of that story that I told myself. and my intuition was working, and I just got this feeling inside like I have to do it. And it was scary. And I actually noticed that with this round of Unlock Your Inner Medium with our students, because some of the people that showed up for level 3 and bought level 3 said, I really don't even know if I want to do group readings, but I feel called to learn because I know it's going to help my one on one readings. And they're so excited and some nervous. Some of them have already been doing audience readings for a while. But when we push past the fears and push past our stories, or even maybe we have the stories in the background and the filters in the background, but something in our soul or intuition is guiding us and pushing us to propel us forward. Maybe it's to take the class, maybe it's to go to an in person workshop or a retreat, whatever it is. That's when the magic happens. And that's when we propel forward. But I think the big thing, I was just having a conversation with a couple of students just recently, and we've been talking to our students about this, is it's not about mediumship skills so much. Like we can learn any skill, really anything that we're learning, all has to deal with mindset. And our mindset is shaped by the stories and the filters, like you said, that keep coming up over and over again. And how much, like, how sick of yourself are you to change your story? I think that's what happens is when do we stop telling the stories that aren't serving us anymore?
Yeah, and I think that what people need to understand is what like we say, oh, this is just how we are. We just don't know names, or we're like you said, I'm shy. I'm not gonna be speaking in front of people. And
Yeah.
the deeper part of ourself, like soul at the soul level, right? We're way more than any of these beliefs or ideas of our identities that we think we are. And I think once people remember that and they have permission to actually be something else, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes. Like
Yeah.
if you hang out with your family and they've always seen you as the talkative one, and then all of a sudden you're around them and you just feel like being quiet, you're gonna feel uncomfortable. Or the opposite, if you're they see you as the quiet one, and then you move away to college, you become more social, and then you go back to your family, and all of a sudden they're, oh, like shit, I better fit this identity, this
Mm-hmm.
one little identity that was created a long time ago from my environment, from what I grew up in. I need to play that role again. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard Jim Carrey say something about depression a couple of weeks ago,
Oh,
and he
yeah.
said that when people become depressed, their body becomes depressed. It's because they get sick and tired. The body, the mind gets sick and tired of playing that role that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to realize is the way that we see ourselves, it's just that one part of our being that's coming out. And there's an infinite amount of parts of us inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminds me of, I always use this story, the Kobe Bryant story. At the beginning of his career, he was struggling. He was putting in the work. He's known for his work ethic. Like he's known like Michael Jordan to where
Mm-hmm.
they didn't go out and party. They were, Kobe was in the gym at 4 a.m. His friends would go out. Some of the other basketball players would go out and party that night. Kobe's at the gym at 4 a.m. Then he's back at the gym at 8 a.m. Then he's back at the gym at 2 p.m. And he's known for his work ethic. He's always been that way. So he's putting in the work, just like a medium, a psychic can put in
Mm-hmm.
the work. They can do their readings and they're putting in the practice. But he didn't have an edge on the basketball court. There was something missing. And what was missing? Well, what he realized was it was a piece, this general word that we hear all the time. It sounds so corny and cliche. It's mindset, right? But the mindset is so deep. And he realized that he needed to activate something else in his mindset. It's not just practicing basketball, it's not just practicing mediumship skills over and over and over again. You can only get so far that way. So he had to dig deep, and he did this with a coach. And this is the power of coaching. This is the power of being with somebody that can be very present with you and see your potential and see what's holding you back. And his coach helped him create a new identity on the
Mm-hmm.
basketball court. He was so used to playing this one identity that he played for 20 years. I think he was about 20 years old at the time, maybe early 20s. But he was so used to his whole life. He was this identity on the basketball court. And then his coach helped him create a new identity that was like a warrior, that was like, it was different than the Kobe Bryant that was with his family. Like, you know, Kobe Bryant with his family was different. Kobe Bryant
Mm-hmm.
on the basketball court, once he crossed that court, he had permission to be this identity. And they did all this work defining it. And that's very important too. Like
Yeah.
defining who are you whenever you go and do a mediumship reading, when you do a psychic mediumship reading, who are you when you step on that court? It's very important to understand that and to know that in advance so you can give yourself permission to be that. So you don't think, oh, I got to be the same person that I am with my kids or that I am here. Um, so they gave it a name, the Mamba mentality. And everybody, most people have heard of that before because he created a whole brand around it. And
Mm-hmm.
you can apply that to your business. You could apply that to mediumship. You could apply that to anything, giving yourself permission to be something different so that you can get the job done, create the results. In this case, a healing for your clients.
And what you said, the key piece is to figure out like where are you at right now before you create the new identity, being honest with yourself. And sometimes our filter, we can't see clearly. So that's where, you know, whether it's a coach comes in or an honest friend that's going to hold you accountable, I think that's really important because that's the step just before the new identity shift. So I love that story. I feel like it goes along with so much of what we're doing when we're trying to really evolve as mediums and recognize, okay, we are at a plateau. Now, if I keep going at the plateau, I'm going to go downward. I think that's the big thing. You don't stay at the plateau forever, you go down quick. So you have to know, okay, I do need to shift this. Like, where am I at right now? What kind of conversations and stories am I repeating over and over again? Am I doing the same steps or am I changing up it a little bit? How can I tweak it? And sometimes you do need an outsider to present that to you, like his coach that he hired. Um, but I feel like it's funny because a lot of times people think, well, I'll just put in the practice and I'll just do a bunch of readings and that's the only thing that I'm going to do. We always talk about the power of putting in the reps, taking action, because that's where you're going to learn a lot. You can't just sit on the sidelines and think, you know, let me just show up for class and do those readings. You have to be outside of class and do those readings. But it also comes down to mindset, even around life outside of mediumship. We've talked about this before. If you have to wind up for a mediumship reading, all of a sudden, like, I got to get in my power. I got to be in my power to do the mediumship reading. But you're not in your power in your personal life and you're not speaking up truthfully and being honest and saying yes to the things that you want to do. It's going to be a lot harder to all of a sudden be in your power for mediumship. So I think that's important too, to recognize that you don't have to wind up as much if you're like that in regular life. And we always talk about how mediumship mirrors your personal life. If you came to mediumship, if you're someone that came to mediumship looking back at your life before you learned your mediumship skills, you'll start to notice your habits in your old job or in the work that you were doing before. And it's going to show up in your mediumship. If you were self conscious about public speaking in your old job, or if you were self conscious about recognizing when you were doing well and you're like, oh, I'm not that good in your old job, that's going to show up in mediumship. It's not the mediumship, it's your mindset, it's your habits, it's the things that you're used to. So you do have to break through those patterns, first recognize them, break through, and then recreate them. And I think that's an important piece.
It is. And we've noticed too that the mediums that grow the most in our programs, whether they're online programs or in person and our retreats, the ones that grow the most are the ones that are open to coaching, the ones that are coachable,
Yeah.
the ones that are not only coachable with the mediumship development, but also coachable with the mindset. Because as anybody knows that went through our programs, we don't just have mediumship skill development. We have the mindset development piece because we believe that's the 80%. Like that's the iceberg that's underneath the water. The tip is the mediumship skills, and they're all important. You need to do all of them, but it's like you can't forget the filter that you're showing up. So if you're like this when you get coaching, like I don't need coaching. Like I already know that. Yeah, it takes 21 days to create a habit, and I know all this basic shit that I've heard over and over. And that's not what it is.
No.
Like when you're being coached, it's like what you said. It's sitting with yourself, sitting with somebody else and reading your energy and being very authentic with like what is happening inside of me. Like when I'm in a room by myself, and if I just stay in there for 30 days, like what is the energy inside of me that's going on? And you'll start to notice
Yeah.
the patterns. People are so used to just going out running, going and working and then doing their, being with their kids, and then they're just on a hamster wheel. So they never get to know their own energy. And you have to know if you want to get to here, that's your vision. You're like, all right, I'm going to be a medium, full-time work at medium, or I'm going to be a part-time work in medium, or whatever your vision is. It's like what you were saying earlier. It's like you have to know where you are, because if you don't know where you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
you're not starting from an authentic space. And if you don't start from an authentic space, you're going to be practicing the mediumship, and it's going to look like you're getting closer to your vision, and then boom, the plateau happens.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, eventually you're going to get burned out by staying in that plateau. It's like if you were in a room, you're just bumping your head against the corner and you're in your own way. So the most important message that we could put out to anybody is be coachable, and understand that when you are being coached, it's not because you're sitting with somebody and they're telling you all the answers. You're sitting with somebody and they're helping you discover your own answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power there.
Huge power. And it's making me think of two things when you were talking. One is, I think the biggest struggle for people that, if we've noticed they're not moving as quick, it's because they have a lot of conflicting beliefs that they're trying to talk themselves out of. So they think one thing, or it sounds good to say and answer what they think they should say. They might not think it through so much when they're like, well, I think this is how I feel about my mediumship. And then all of a sudden something else comes up and they have a conflicting belief around it, you know? And what it is it's almost like a struggle between their ego and their soul. And it keeps them in this spiral. They keep spinning, and they're like, why do I feel like I'm not getting anywhere? It's because you have conflicting beliefs. Conflicting the beliefs are the worst thing to keep you stuck. But once you're aware of the conflicting beliefs, and sometimes you have to have someone kind of show you, like put your head into the little telescope and look in there like, okay, look at this. You said this and you also said this. How does that go together? Once you become aware of that, everything shifts, but you have to admit it. And I think that's the big thing. It's very easy to get stuck in ego and think, well, no, I did say this, but I do believe that and I do feel that way. So think about that. What conflicting beliefs have come up for you? You know, when we work with our business masterminders, well, I really want to serve a lot of people out there and I want to just help so many people because I'm so connected to my heart. But I hate social media. I feel like it's fake, but I also want to connect with people all around the world.
And I don't want to charge for it.
Right. So it's all together. So it's like, wait a second. Let's backtrack. What is your belief around social media? You know, are you judging other people and you're thinking they're doing it for certain reasons, but why do you really want to do this? Well, if you want to touch people in your local town, you could totally do that. But if you're wanting to touch people around the world, you're going to have to somehow get to them. You're either traveling to them or you're going to share online to get to the masses because you want to serve so many people. So it's like trying to figure out those deeper beliefs on why do I have these conflicting beliefs and stop resisting against them, because they will stop you from your growth very quickly.
So
Now, there's another piece to this that you mentioned. Whatever you just said a little bit ago was making me think of something in college. And I think it's because you activate it by talking about your college professor. But I had a college professor. I was an education professor. He was amazing. And he was the best. He was so funny and just very heart-centered, direct, and just a good teacher all around. And we had to do read alouds. I want to say this was my first year in the education program. And we had to design a poster. We had to read a book to the class. And then we had to use puppets. And mine was like a gingerbread house. I don't even know what the book was, but I had candy that was on there. And then I had to read it to my first grade internship students that I was tutoring. And I did it for class first. And he's like, that was amazing. I forget what he said, but he said, I think you did a great job. It was really engaging and creative. And I liked how you put the candy
she's
on.
like me.
And I'm like, oh, really? I don't know. I don't know if it was that good. I could have done this differently. And I just started rambling on about how really it was that good. And it like ruined the moment of receiving the compliment. And what he said to me was, you really did a good job. But you should really look at seeing a very good therapist. I was like, oh my
Oh,
God.
geez.
Because he was in the psychology field too, and he always talked to us about a
He's like, damn, I
therapist.
see conflicting beliefs
I'm
here.
like,
They're gonna
oh
hold you back.
shoot. So it stuck out with me. It really it stuck with me, and I started to recognize that when it came to mediumship for some reason, well, after you said that, it woke me up. I will say that. He did something to wake me
I
up by
bet.
saying that. And I didn't see a therapist after that, but he made me think because I still remember it. And it came from him. If it came from someone that was like disrespectful and not saying it in the way, I don't know how his wording was, but I felt his energy, and it was good. Um, but I start to recognize, oh wow, like I need to work on this with self-esteem and just honor and accept the compliment. So when it came to mediumship, I really stayed detached by what teachers said to me, or needing that approval. And I was just talking to another student about this because it's a common theme. When you're learning, especially a new skill, you want to be told by the teacher, you need to do this work. You need to be a medium, or you should be, on stages. That is the worst thing to wait for a teacher to tell you, you need to do this or you should be on stage. If you're attached to teacher approval, you're not following your own intuition, your own inner guide. And it can really mess with you because you can take one class and a teacher might not say it and you think, oh, I'm not meant to do that as my purpose. So I just want to share that because that's a common theme that I've noticed even with peers in mediumship classes. They've said, well, I don't feel like they see this in me, but do you see it in yourself? Are you going to let one person, a teacher, tell you that you're supposed to be a medium? No, you listen to your own guidance, and it's an added bonus if a teacher says something, but it doesn't need to be there.
Well, yeah, because it's going back to the filter thing.
Right,
So I'm gonna depend on one filter. This lady has yellow sunglasses on, and I need her to tell me that, oh,
right,
I'm gonna be a great medium, or I'm gonna be a great teacher from this one little perspective out of infinite perspectives on the planet. Is there value there? Yeah, there's value by being around a lot of mentors and then them giving you feedback saying,
right,
hey, yeah, you're a really good teacher. We've all had that along the way. But you look at the patterns of it, and it can tell you where you can grow and where you need to improve on. But it all comes down to your instinct. And so how do you know if you're stuck in conflicting beliefs? Well, I heard it in your language as you were sharing it. The common theme is
mm-hmm,
I want to help all of these people, but I hate social media, the vehicle that could get to all these people.
mm-hmm,
I want to have a mediumship business that impacts people deeply, but I don't want to charge for it. Well, what we realize, what if you don't charge for your work, no matter what the work is, people don't value it. So you're not going to have this big of an impact. Can you charge for your work and still do free work on the side? Yeah, you can still do that, but we're talking to the people that want to impact thousands, maybe even millions of people in their lifetime with their psychic mediumship work. So if you have this huge vision that you're very clear on, you know the reasons why you want to do it. And that's the 80% too. Talk about the 80%. You can have your vision, but you need to know all the reasons why, because that's going to
yeah.
put you through it. If you have this
And why
clear,
not too?
and then why not? And if you have this clear vision, and then you go and say, but that's when you know you're in conflicting beliefs. And that's when you can look at them. You could look at them and sit down and write them down. And sometimes you just write it down one time and that conflicting belief leaves in that moment. Other times you might have to work, like I've worked on some conflicting beliefs for 5 years, right? So some of them are more deeply rooted
Yeah.
than others. A huge one is the belief of I'm not enough for that level, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I want to do this huge vision, but like what you were saying earlier, but I'm not a social person. Well, what we realized is most people that are on the stages that are doing highly impactful work, they were introverts.
Yeah.
They're outside of their comfort zone. What they had to do was realize they were having this conflicting belief, follow the soul level, which was telling them, hey, go and impact all of these people and get the hell out of their own way.
Mm.
Because if
Yeah.
you don't get out of your own way, you're going to be telling this story for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And maybe you might get to the end of your life and you're still telling this story. You're on your deathbed, as sad as that sounds. And you're like, damn, I had this huge vision, but
Mm-hmm.
I kept getting in the way. Like Lindsay and I, we're both mostly introverts.
Yep.
We would, if we were doing what we wanted to do, we wouldn't be on here doing this podcast. Trust me. We don't need to be. We're not the people where we want to be out in the front and attention. We were always the people like hiding in the background, right? So it's like most people, majority, I would say at least 50%, maybe even more, that are out here leading huge missions. It, they weren't born with this ideal makeup to do it. They weren't raised with the yellow sunglasses that says I'm going to be an introvert or I'm going to be an extrovert. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be easy for me to go out here and talk to all these people. Well, no, most of the people we work with that are mediums, that are healers, it drains the hell out of them being around a lot of people.
Mm.
So that's where the mindset comes in too. It's like Lindsay and I, like what we had to do over time, right? We had to figure out ways to stay recharged, to stay in our power. Because a lot of the stuff that we do for our business can be draining to us at times, being around a lot of people. So we have to figure out
Be strategic.
strategic and get out of our own way and oh I. So if you have a huge vision and you know your why, but then you keep on saying I, look at your conflicting beliefs. It's no big deal. And when you see these conflicting beliefs, don't get upset about finding something wrong with you. That's
Yeah.
another thing too, because then it compounds. It's like, oh, no, you're finding gold. That means you're becoming more aware. When you become more aware, you're starting to see the things that are holding you back. It can be very sad at times. It could piss you off at times. But we need to reframe that and be like, no, I just found gold.
Oh
I
yeah.
just found a red hot button in me that as I start to feel this and be honest about it, I can move this out of me
And
and then I could
something new is
overcome
gonna
it.
come in. Like something amazing will come in. Each thing that you spot, something new comes in, and you go to that next level.
Exactly, because it's like we all have these little triggers inside of us. Like we'll say there's millions of them, right? Because it's a lifetime of them. Every
Mm-hmm.
mentor I've ever talked to that's 70, 80, that lived a life, they've done this their whole life and they kept finding more. It's like what you said. So if you're scared to find that one trigger where it's like, oh, I'm not enough, or I don't want to charge, or social media, you'll never be able to find the deeper ones and you'll never be able to become the person you need
Yeah,
to
you need to
become.
build up. I think over time with this sort of work, you build up a tough exterior. Like really, I feel like I was like a sensitive little flower over a lot of things. You remember when I first started out,
I
I didn't
do.
want to charge, which was fine at the time. Like I gave free readings for a while. I wasn't ready to charge, but I knew in my heart that this is the time. I was getting energetically drained, and I got the message like I had to charge. I had a lot of conflicting beliefs around that sort of thing. I had a lot of conflicting beliefs around posting online too. I'm putting quotes, promoting myself, because that was the phrases that oh, she's promoting herself now. Well, you
There
have
she
to,
goes again.
if you want to serve people, you need to tell them what you're offering, because I know what it was like to deal with pain and grief and need help and look for resources. It's like all of these things are on, there's two sides to the coin. It's like you don't want to promote yourself, but you want to help people.
Hmm.
So, in order for people to see you, you need to start to be visible. And I think that's the big thing. We can get stuck in judging people around us on how they're sharing out. And and then it causes and then it causes
That's what you
you,
look like when you do that. Us too. We've done it before.
then it causes you, I know you're like like the little person in the background showing the acting of each thing.
If I could, I'd be running on a treadmill while we're doing this podcast.
I know you would be.
Maybe I will one day.
No, but what was I just talking about? We're live, so we have to keep going with this, and I
Let's keep
forget
it
what I
going.
was
It's
saying.
okay.
No, so there's something about what was it? Oh, when you're judging other people and you're
Yeah.
taking time to judge other people and say, oh, they're posting like this or doing that, you're actually causing yourself to now not do that when maybe secretly you do want to do that. So it kind of stops you in your tracks and what you could be doing. Instead, recognize that, it feels uncomfortable right now that I see this because I feel like this is like very visible for me, but maybe that's triggering me right now and I'm judging it because that's what I want to do. You know, it's being honest with yourself and so that you can have that growth. It all comes back to mindset. It all comes back to the stories that we tell ourselves. So we kind of put a lot of information in a short amount of time, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear what insights have you had listening to this episode. Share with us below. Any stories that pop up for you that you've experienced yourself where, well, I used to tell myself this story, or I'm telling myself this story and I want to change it right now.
Yeah, and if you are judging, just to add a little piece to that, if you are judging others, anything you reject, anything you look outside of here and you're rejecting it, it's because you have a desire underneath it. It's scientifically proven. It's over and over. You reject someone that has money. You reject someone that's posting. Because underneath it, you have the desire of the opposite. You want to post. So that's a little sign. Anything that you're like, oh, why are they doing that? It's about you. That's a little red hot button inside of you. So look at that rejection and be like, all right, what is my desire underneath this?
Right.
And then move towards that instead of, and then you'll notice that as you start to move, the reason why you're rejecting so much is because you're not moving towards your own desires. So as you start to move towards your own desires, like as Lindsay and I start to put ourselves out here, we stopped rejecting other people that are doing it, right? But before we were doing it, you know, maybe we were a little envious, like, hey, look at that. There they go, sharing a heart again. Or there they go, right? Or there they go thinking they're all positive or whatever it is, right? But it's like, once you're in the game, you no longer have the views of people that are sitting in the stands.
Yeah. Now, the last thing that I want to share that's important that's coming up is our 8th annual Psychic Mediumship Retreat. If you're a student of ours or you're someone that wants to be a student, you want to attend, reach out. You can send me a message. You can email lindsay@lindsaymarino.com, or you can just get on the sign up list. You'll get all the info sent to you. If you go to lindsaymarino.com and then click on Learn with Lindsay, it will say our retreat info. You sign up and you get it to your inbox and we can set up a call. This retreat has sold out last year, and this is like our favorite event of the year. It's in Florida again at the same house. We have our private chef, Natalia, our friend, who's absolutely amazing. We have so many exercises that we're going to be doing. And really, it's all about mindset, having fun, connecting with the community, eating beautiful, recharging foods, being on the beach in the most magical weather on the most magical land. So I'm just so excited. I can't wait to be back with everyone. If you want to grab a spot, reach out now. Now is the time if you want your spot. No matter what, we're going to have an amazing time. And I'd love to have you there if it's the right fit. If you're not a student yet, then we do an interview process to see if it's a good fit. Okay, see you guys next time on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.